The first session is the keynote speech by Professor Zeng, and the moderator is Professor Jin Yang. Professor Yang, can you take over? By the way, your mic is quite low. Can you adjust a little bit high? Yeah, okay.
Sure. Is it better now?
Yeah, it's much better now. Yeah, thank you.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you. So it's my great honor to introduce our first keynote speaker today, who's a longtime colleague that I admire and respect greatly. Professor Zeng needs no introduction for most of you, but Professor Zeng's contribution to the population studies here. Professor Zeng is a professor at the National School of Development and honorary director of Center for Healthy Aging and Development Studies at Peking. He is also a professor at the Center for Study of Aging and Human Development and Geriatric Division of School of Medicine at the Duke University. He's a member of the World Academy of Science for the advancement of science in developing countries, and a foreign member of the Royal Netherlands Academy of Arts and Sciences. Professor Zeng in his career has published hundreds and hundreds of journal articles and many books, many books in both English and Chinese in the area of aging research. He's really a pioneer in all this research in the world, and especially in China. Professor Zeng has been awarded 4 national academic prizes and 16 national academic prizes in China, including the National Union of Scientific Studies of Population, IUSSP 2021 laureate. So he's the latest laureate this year at IUSSP, which is awarded to one scholar annually worldwide. He has also received national prizes for advancement of science and technology, awarded to the State Sciences and Technology Commission of China, the Chinese Population Prize for Science and Technology. That is jointly awarded by 9 ministries and 7 national non-government associations. He received National Medal of Outstanding Contribution awarded by Central Government of China. These are just a few notable distinctions that Professor Zeng has received in his long career. And so that was an understatement of his contribution to population studies. Without further ado, let me pass the time to Professor Zeng for his keynote speech. Professor Zeng, please. Platform is yours, Professor. Yeah. You can start now.
Good morning. Thank you very much for Professor Yang, Professor Feng, and for everyone. It's something of my knowledge in ProFamy, President and the King for outcome and the living and gradually protection. I will talk about the first one and then by research assumption of the general one, which also the very development of providing comfortable. We're talking about the second and the third one. Why do we need outcome and living and regular protection? There are many reasons. We just give a few example, for example, that took the job, so that when that and the one, when was that so larger developed by Lavelle household, return energy, consumption, household priority, and the consumer durable and better, and all the taken by household, not individual. Creating a new household by learning for divorce generation, investment, different in consumption of energy, housing, and many other product service. So, replace energy, housing, and many other product service are driven by the number of households, rather than individual population growth. Now, let's look at this picture. This is there. And out here, we can see clearly from the year 2000 to 2010, the growth of landfill household is one under that population growth. Therefore, anyone can find projection of housing demand of energy, house, and many other product service. If the projection is based on population projection rather than household projection. Then the question why household is liquid roughly why population growth data has growth substantially because the household life is getting water and water due to several reasons. Why transmitted lunar migration and also genes convert correlated between outside and adult children and influence development and also due to population age with many more old people living longer with found only or living alone. Now, that is from the foreign there where present the basic data and orientation and also application of the work with.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much, the organizer. Thank you for Professor, and also thank Professor Feng Jiushi and Professor Jin Yang. And it's my pleasure to, on behalf Professor Zeng Yi, and to present our long-time project. And Now I'm going to talk about the method and the data and the validations about ProFamy. Actually, we use ProFamy extended cohort component method and the software for the projections of household living arrangement and applications in socioeconomic planning. So now I'd like to comparison with two these methods still widely used and popular, which is hardship rate. The major difference regarding the methodology and the data is that the hardship rate cannot be with demographic events directly, like how fertility level change and how marital status transition will change will affect future household size and type. But ProFamy model does, because the model directly into all this fertility, mortality, and the marital status patterns and the label. So regarding the accounting system, we can compare, and for the ProFamy, we do the cohort by cohort because it's extending the cohort component method. However, the hardship rate, they just use a cross-sectional extrapolation of the age specific hardship rate without linkage to demographic rate. So let us look at the information the output can produce by these two methods. And this table we present here is published by Census Bureau in 1996. We can see that by using hardship rate, you only can have 5 household type, and there is no household size available. In comparison, if you use ProFamy model, in total, you can have 40 household types. So by this, all the 4 household types is actually we can categorize by generations. So you can have 1 generation households, 2 generation, 3 generations, and each generations and based on the reference person of households, marital status, and the gender, and we can have more detailed household type. For example, for 1 person household, we can have in total with 6 types. That's because 1 person only, that means they can be never married, they can be widowed or divorced. And then they can be male and females, so that you can have this very detailed 1 person only household. So in conclusion of the about the ProFamy, and we can say that ProFamy extended cohort model does substantially better than the still widely used classic race method in household projections. In addition to the academic research, actually ProFamy method software already applied to many fields of consumptions like housing, energy, and also we applied for a lot of countries, China, United States, Austria, And recently, we also applied ProFamy model to Sri Lanka, and we forecast the disability numbers and the distributions. I will talk about this in detail a little bit later. So now we are going to the validation part. So I already said the ProFamy model is good as well, whether or not this work. So the best things to see whether it's work, we use to data to estimate, and so that we use 2 points of census data. And here we use the United States application, and we use census 1990 as starting point projection, and we use ProFamy model to project the number of households and populations in 2000. And then we compare ProFamy's simulations with census observations. So this table clearly shows you that regarding the households numbers is very close. And for example, the total number of households and the relative difference is about 1%. And so as we said, the ProFamy model and is extension cohort model. So in this method, we not only forecast household, we also project populations. So here is comparison with the population result, and this is China application. We use 2000 census data to project census 2010. We can see here the total population size is very close, and we have a little bit probably younger age group, and also have for the older age groups. For example, for elderly age over 60 plus and elderly age 65, and the ProFamy have the lower estimations, about 6%. That's because that's popular for census to collect elderly data. There may be over-reporting, and for the younger age group, we can see ProFamy we have about 6% higher than the younger age group, because in 2000 census at that time we still have one-child policy. So for the younger age groups, there's under-reporting. So we can, the result, we can show these 2 kind of groups from the census data. We also did these validations for United States and for the 50 states projections. And for this application, we use census 1990 data, and we project year 2000. And we just grouped all of the index. So we calculate the mean absolute percent error, the mean average algebraic percent error, and the median absolute percent error of the main index of household projections, like a total number of household size, a percent of one person household, and so on. So here is clear show you, and among these 6 index, the differentials is really acceptable. And this table is regarding the index of the population. And we can see, and for the population size, the index including total population. And we can see that for all of the measurement is always all around 1%. And so the population forecast projected by ProFamy is really, really good. And this is, we also did for the housing. And here we can look at the forecast errors of mean eligible person error and mean absolute person error. And we use a ProFamy model and to project the number of housing demand. And we also use headship rate first also method to forecast households and apply the similar housing data. So we can see that this is a comparison between the simulation from ProFamy and headship rate. So we can see that the larger differentials between ProFamy and headship rate is smaller housing unit, because like many people said, in the future, in any countries, any society, we already observed the highly increase the smaller household. But if you use the headship rate, they could not show you this kind of transitions, like Japanese case is the same. Now we do the comparison of the main index of a household and the population between those projects from 2000 to 2010 by ProFamy extend the cohort component method and those observed in 2010 census in Hebei province. The Hebei province is Chinese capital Beijing located province, and so this result, the ProFamy does well at the sub-national level, and we can see no matter the population and the households, and the ProFamy's estimation is almost close to the 2000 census observation. And here it also we use the ProFamy method and use 2000 census data to estimate, to forecast the population by age group. So we can see that still the all-in higher differences from younger age group. That's because the census data have the under-reporting for the younger age group. So in summary, we can say the discrepancies are all within a very reasonable range. And ProFamy approach is validated not only at national and also at the subnational levels. However, the ProFamy approach needs substantially more data, and the headship rates we can use very few data you can run. So in this case, does the classic headship rate method still good? We still should apply. And so if the user only simply needs the projections of the home-based products demands, such as number of housing units by number of bedrooms, but do not care about the details of the household size and the different persons where the unit set for residence is parents and children. So if user does not show that detail, should we use headship rate? Do not use so complicated ProFamy. To answer this question, we project from 1990 to 2000 housing demand by number of bedrooms for each of 50 states and DC in United States. We employing headship rate method and the ProFamy approach using data before 1990. We compare the project and the census observed of housing units by number of bedrooms in 2000. We estimate to compare the forecast areas by the headship rate method and the ProFamy approach. So the conclusion is that the headship rate method, which cannot forecast households by size, results in substantially more serious forecast errors in predicting the demands of housing units by number of bedrooms as compared to the ProFamy approach, whose forecasts do include detailed household size information. So now we're going to the third part of the illustrative projections. This figure shows you the projections of households living arrangement and home-based care needs for disabled old adults in Sri Lanka from 2012 to 2060. And so this show you in Sri Lanka case, we can see the number of disabled elderly, the females is higher than the males, and the number of disabled people is increasing by years and also by age groups. And so this is relatively increase of percent of numbers of disabled older adults by genders and age group in each of the select years as compared to 2012 Sri Lanka. So this show you that so in Sri Lanka in the future the highly price increase is from the oldest old age 80 plus. So that could tell the policymakers in the future we should pay some more attention with the old, because it's for the old, the disabled people, elderly, old needs more care. And from our simulation, and for the females, the fallout is younger age groups. And again, we observed the females, the increase speed is much faster than the males. Here is numbers of disabled older adults by age groups and medium, low, and high scenarios. We use the ProFamy model, and we have 3 different scenarios for the low and high and middle, and we apply 3 different levels of disability. For the medium, we assume the disability will keep constant, and for the high, we assume will increase yearly about 0.8%, and for the lower, we assume is lower. So we can see that that is the total number by these 3 simulations. So this kind of simulation can give you policymaker the range, the possible range. So the blue line is middle. So that is like educational forecasting. That's occasionally in the future, Sri Lanka. So in year 2050, and there are about 2 million old disabled adults. And the range is the higher is the red line, and the lowest emission is yellow line. So that give you this kind of scale, the range of the future, the number of the disability by age groups. So our projections found that if all the adult disability status substantially improve or substantially deteriorate, the care needs for disabled elders won't remarkably decrease or larger increase. Thus, the society and the policymakers need to pay serious attention on reducing old adults' disability. Our projection results also show that care needs for disabled and married elders living alone increase substantially faster than care needs for those disabled and married elders living with children. Therefore, we suggest to promote old adults live together or nearby their adult children to reach win-win outcomes. Here's another illustration about the projection of the residential energy demands in Hebei province. And we use 2010 census data and the survey consuming data and about the electricity, water, and fuel. And we use 2 kinds of methods to forecast the energy demand. One is the household base, the other one you use population base. Use household base means we calculate the consuming rate by household type, by household different person's age and the size, and for the population projections, we use the consumer rate per person, so that we can say there's a large difference, especially after year 2030. This is because in Hebei province, the population will reach at top level at 2030 and then decline. But however, the number of households is increased. So that's one reason why it is so large difference. The others, and in population base, we calculate the population consumer rate by person, not by household. And by person, only account the age differential, not count household size and household type. And this is the relative increase of home-based energy consumption of electricity, water, and fuel from 15 to 2050. So we can see that the higher increase in the home-based energy consumption in next 4 decades in Hebei is water consumption, which will increase by nearly 60%. So people must say, why is water in Hebei increase so quickly and largely than electricity and fuel? One explanation is that based on the consumer rate, the elderly is consuming water larger than the younger age group. So in the future, the population is aging in Hebei, but households is aging too, so that there's a more household with elderly, so that the water is demand is larger than the electricity and the fuel. And here is the relative increase of home-based energy demands of electricity, water, and fuel by household size in 2050 compared to 2010. So again, we can see as compared to 2010, home-based energy consumption in 2050 for one person owning household increased by 230 to 300%. So it's clear the largely increase from the one person and followed by the 2 person. And because the household size is becoming smaller, we have the negative increase for the larger size of household. So here is the relative increase of energy consumptions in 2050 as compared with 2010. We classified by rural and urban areas in Hebei. So it's clear show that energy demand in urban will increase by about 110 to 126% in 2050 as compared to 2010, and it will decrease substantially in the rural area because of the urbanization. Here is an increase of home-based energy demands in 2050 compared to 2010 by age of householder in Hebei province. So clearly, there's demonstrated huge relative increase of home-based energy demands of elderly in 2050 compared in 2010. As a dramatic increase of elderly households, energy demands in households under 35 years old will substantially decline in next 30 years. So here is our summary findings. Energy demands forecasting based on projections of population change on the seriously and estimates the future residential energy demands. Future increase in residential energy demands will be dominated by the larger increase in the small households with 1 or 2 persons. Due to quick urbanizations, the total energy demands in urban area will increase substantially, but in contrast, the total energy demands in rural area will substantially decline. Lastly, we found that the increase of residential energy demands will be mainly driven by the rapid increase of older adults households. So for the policy recommendations for Hebei policy of China, based on this study, we propose learning from the successful experience in Singapore, we need to adopt the policy to encourage and facilitate all the parents and adult children to live together or nearby and support rural to urban family migrations or family reunions after young migrants are settled in urban area. It will result in a mutually beneficial outcome for both older and younger generations, as well as effective reduction of energy demands. We suggest to emphasize increasing energy utility efficiency, including green building of age-friendly housing, household energy saving devices, green energy device usage. We propose that the governmental agencies and policy to stress the data collections and analysis on household residential energy demands for informed policy making and sustainable development. In conclusion, undertaking the ongoing and future trends of households and living arrangements dynamics is essential to analysis and projections of residential energy demands in Hebei and elsewhere. And it is one of the crucial steps towards a sustainable development future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Zeng and Dr. Wang. That's an excellent beginning of showing the importance of ProFamy, what kind of contribution it can have, and all the examples are great. Of course, we know that the application would go beyond the energy utility. It can be applied to many socioeconomic issues as well. For example, I have personally worked with Professor Zeng and Professor Feng Qiushi to look at in China as we adjust the retirement age. If we delayed it at a certain age, how it would affect the human capital in terms of education and health of the people in the labor market. And so that's just one example of the wide application that ProFamy can really contribute to the population studies. So thank you for that presentation, and we will now move to the next panel to look at more applications of ProFamy. And so I will give the time to the next moderator.
You can